Geoffrey's members of parliament, they can say it better.
All right, I'll start with you, Mheshimiwa, for Nambale. I'm looking at the tentative business for Tuesday, September the 23rd, 2025. I see here Committee of the Whole House on the Virtual Asset Service Providers Amendment Bill, consideration of fifth report on the examination of financial statements of selected state corporations, the Kenya Roads Amendment Bill, consideration of report on the examination of financial statements for the Water Sector Trust Fund, the privatization bill. What, for you, are the big ticket items as you get into this new session?
Yeah, as you have, I think you have just read out the entire order paper for today. And as we carry business, you know, we have what we call House Business Committee. They are the ones that prepare the calendar and they prepare the timetable on what you're supposed to be discussing, what you have just read out. So each and every business is given time in the House for debate. So you'll find that like the Committee of the Whole House, we may not be spending more than an hour on it because it's a continuous business that was being carried out the previous session. Now we are just finalizing. So all those items are very important and they must be concluded today.
Must be concluded?
Yes, all of them are very important. Once they're on the business paper, the House business have looked at it and allocated time for it.
Okay.
So we have time for each and every agenda on the order paper today. And maybe let me say something that you say that if now we are entering into political season, if we have time to legislate or go into politics. You know, we politicians, we have really programmed our time very well. And my colleague is here and he'll tell you. You know, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is serious time for legislation in the House. Monday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's the time to politics. And that's why you see many headlines from political headlines. They come out during weekends. That's the time now we have time to go and interact with the electorates, interact with the other Kenyans, and do our politics. So there's nothing that we're going to say that even if we are entering into political season, we are going now to compromise our time on parliamentary business. No.
All right. So for the Senate, one of the big ticket items is the Constitution of Kenya Amendments Bill of 2025, which had caused a bit of outcry in the public and clarification was made with this regard. But according to the Senate, they say this bill, described by many senators as one of the most significant constitutional reform proposals since 2010, aims to strengthen the Senate, streamline the legislative process, and give counties more independence in executing their rules. But before we go further into this, I want to get your take, Mheshimiwa Wandeto, on what are as we get into this session, what are the big ticket items for the National Assembly?
Thank you. When we closed the last session, on the floor of the House, we were discussing the privatization of Kenya Pipeline, which the Speaker, unfortunately, did some tactical delays, and I can say this on camera, so that the motion was beaten by time. We are hoping that you bring that motion back, because parliamentarians are very concerned about this privatization and the way it's being done. There is also the matter of EGP, the Electronic Government Procurement System, which Parliament rejected, and which subsequently the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury and even none other than His Excellency the President has said it must go on. So again, we have another executive overreach, whereby the executive is saying it will not obey, Parliament. We also expect discussions around SHA and what has happened this weekend. So I'll not be surprised that soon we'll have the Cabinet Secretary for Health coming to the floor of the House. Or it's even very likely that this House may wish to censor the Cabinet Secretary based on just the goings-on in SHA. We have a number of other issues. Remember, we also have the constitutional amendment to entrench CDF, GAF, and the Senate Oversight Fund. That has passed Parliament, but the court has pronounced itself against that. So again, Parliament has to come back and reorganize itself how it will approach that. But talking about the Senate Amendment Bill, the Constitution of Kenya Senate Amendment Bill, I think two things here I would just like to raise. We are seeing a very unhealthy competition between the two houses of parliament, which is not helping Kenyans at all. The drafters of the constitutions were clear on the role of the National Assembly and the role of the Senate. The role of the National Assembly, the role of the Senate rather, being more oversight to counties and development of laws around counties. But we start seeing an unhealthy competition where Senate feels that you'd have a certain roles that actually are not prescribed in the Constitution. The second thing is that there is a lot of duplication between the two houses
the same
of
could be said of NGCDF.
Yeah, and actually, no. The same cannot be said of NGCDF. Just using the word NGCDF, it's actually National Government Constituency Development Fund. And only for the nth time, we will repeat, me and my brother Mulanya and all the parliamentarians who come here, we will keep repeating to Kenyans for the nth time that MPs have little or no role in NGCDF. Yeah. I can tell you, there are some constituencies that lost their members of parliament, unfortunately, isn't it? Yeah, some of the ones that we are going to by elections, like Banisa, very early in the life of the parliament. Children are still getting bursaries. Classes are still being built in Banisa. Life is going on. The MP has nearly no role. Ours is an oversight role, is a guidance role. That fund is run by the national government. It's run by the executive, literally. Those employees are employees of the national government. But anyway, moving from that, so I was talking about this unhealthy duplication. Again, between Senate, so sometimes Senate is considering a matter, Senate is summoning the Cabinet Secretary for health, we are summoning the Cabinet Secretary for health, we are summoning the IG, we are summoning the IG. I would expect that Senate is more summoning the governors, the CECs from counties, and to allow Parliament to then deal with the executive. So we are finding ourselves in a situation where I don't know what we can do, because maybe these are things that drafters of the Constitution never foresaw, just like they never foresaw the mess that devolution would become. But we are finding ourselves in certain aspect of the Constitution that, if it were possible, we wish we could have an opportunity to streamline.
Mm-hmm. Let me just add something on what he has just said.
Yes, and then I'll build on that.
Yeah, you know what Senator is doing? They're trying to come into the business of the National Assembly. One of the issues they are trying to introduce is the vetting of CSS.
Yes, joint parliament on vetting and oversight.
Vetting. So why do they want also to come and vet the CSS? The other issue is...
I don't know if CSS is included here. I see even DPP, Auditor General, Control of Budget, members of the Public Service Commission, chairpersons of constitutional commissions.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, just generally the employment in public service. Then the other issue is they also want on the budget issue. That, the budget process is done in the National Assembly. And they're forgetting that their core mandate is oversighting the devolution, which I can say that Senate is failing. The only thing they're doing is on impeachment of governors. But on oversight of counties, they're doing zero. They're not coming up with legislation to curb wastage in counties, because any law that is supposed to help us prevent wastage in counties is supposed to come from the Senate. The National Assembly cannot legislation the same. But they're not doing that. So for them running away and trying to allocate themselves duties, besides their core mandate of oversighting the devolution, I believe they're trying to run away from their constitutional mandate. And for instance, it's only Senate that now does the final motion on impeachment of, like we did on the deputy president. Do you want us also to say that besides voting, the National Assembly should also be carrying out the trial of an impeachment? So we'll just be duplicating duties. No. So let them just carry out duties that they have, which I strongly believe they are not performing well.
Okay, Wakili, I'll ask you to moderate. Disagreements over who holds the last word on financial matters have long fueled tensions between the National Assembly and the Senate. I'm just quoting what the Senate has posted. The amendment bill seeks to put an end to such disputes by granting both houses equal responsibility in reviewing and approving the national budget, revenue estimates, spending frameworks, and appropriation laws. Under the proposed changes, either house will be able to originate any bill with the exception of those on taxation and revenue raising, which will remain the preserve of the National Assembly. Even so, the Senate will now exercise an equal role in scrutinizing and approving such financial laws. This balance, it is hoped, will bring accountability and inclusivity into the management of public finance while reducing conflicts in the past, which slowed down the legislative process. Wakili.
Yes. When we came up with our constitution, the 2010 constitution, the history is clear. It really underwent extreme rigorous processes. It captured the aspirations of Kenyans and what Kenyans wanted. And by the fact that there was that distinctness in terms of the role of the Senate and the role of the National Assembly, there was a reason, and a very good reason, behind it. And what we are seeing now is the Senate trying to actually claw back on those ones. And that is why they are coming up with a constitutional amendment bill, which essentially is supposed now to redefine Senate outside what Kenyans had envisioned for Senate. So the question is, and if I want to get them right, there's only a level of them saying that we can do some things jointly. To the extent that they can do some things jointly, there will be some understanding around that. Because in terms of even their roles, it still cuts across. We do not have a very clear path that we are saying these are only the devolution aspects or devolution roles, because they intertwine. But to the extent that they want to almost, duplicate, like what Mheshimiwa has said, what the National Assembly is doing, speaks to the fact that Kenyans have come to a realization that we may have made a very big mistake. And that is in terms of over-representation and coming up and copying some things which may not work in terms of what we have. Because it means that it's like the senators are telling you we are a bit idle. The roles that you have given us, it's not enough. We want to, more duties. More duties. Then someone will ask, there's someone who is doing this role, like today we have you there, Olive Barrows. Then someone else comes to city and wants to do the same thing you're doing at the same time you're doing it. It cannot happen. That will be confusion. And I don't think that will actually sit well with the constitutional architectural theories that led us to having a Senate and National Assembly. And from the word go, Senate and the National Assembly started fighting, which is the bigger house, which is the upper house. It was not defined in terms of the Constitution, because it was not about an upper and a lower house. It was about you are playing your role perfectly, I'm playing my role perfectly. It fuses seamlessly into the engine that runs the country. Unfortunately, that sibling rivalry has made Senate go to court severally. They have spent a lot of money in court in several of these matters, trying to entrench themselves and their roles. And now, because the court spoke outrightly and looked at the wording of the Constitution, they have now said, we want to amend that Constitution. So ideally, this is someone who, in lack of a better word, is just telling you that if what you have given us is not enough, and we need to be given something else. If it is not, then this issue of what the MPs are doing, tomorrow they might say we also want to do something that the judiciary is doing. We want to do something that, the DPP is doing. It will be a whole lot of confusion. And I think such things should then wait for when we will have a perfect referendum, so that Kenyans can even decide, is it something that we need to add some roles and remove them from this point? But again, remember, we have been told by none other than the president that even these oversight roles have been now used to, it's a rent-seeking feature. So maybe someone is salivating that, hey, these other guys, are at the center of something. Then tomorrow, National Assembly, like Mheshimiwa said, they may also want to have a role to be the trial chamber because money is being spent there more than this side. So the reason behind this, I don't know, we are creating a solution for a problem that is not there. We are okay the way we are, and if there's a problem,
they say there is a problem. They say
Which problem?
They say the bill proposes to expand its responsibility to all legislation, a move that would give senators a seat at the table in shaping every aspect of national lawmaking. In doing so, it aims to elevate the Senate into a co-equal chamber, ensuring that both houses play meaningful roles in lawmaking and financial oversight.
That is a second wife wanting to fight with a first wife.
Exactly.
There's no problem there because before my colleague comes in, you know, it's called a National Assembly. This is the Senate that deals with oversight in terms of counties.
Yes.
They have their province. National Assembly will deal with national issues. And the framers of the Constitution were very clear in terms of bills that can be originated from the Senate and bills that must be originated from the National Assembly. They have very clear-cut aspects. And even when there are bills that must go through both, and there is a dispute, it's already indicated how they will both come together, form a committee, and sort that mess. So there is no problem as we sit here, Olive, if you look at it. And that's why I'm saying, if we are saying, if you look at the legislative aspects that Mheshimiwa is saying, you'll find that there's so much that the National Assembly and the Senate need to do within the short period that remains. But if they want to bog and create such a problem in terms of just, you know, bragging rights, then unfortunately, all these things that they are saying they want to do, they will not accomplish.
Okay, wait.
Well,
so what happens?
Ask you a question.
Okay.
Let me just ask you a question. We have had so many devolution conferences. And this devolution conference, this is a devolution unit that is carrying out this, including the Senate, because they are the one that oversight devolution. But have we had any report coming from the Senate? Because, you know, devolution conference, like the one happened in Bawama the other day, is for all the counties to come together, showcase what they have achieved in terms of devolution or the gain that made out of the devolution. So, and the challenges that are also arising out of it. So have they picked those challenges and say that now, because now we attend this conference, we have picked these challenges that are affecting the devolution so that we want better service delivered to Kenyans. Now we want to legislate the laws that prevent this challenge from occurring in the future. Because nowadays, it's just a fashion. You attend a devolution conference, spend money, then the Senate comes, forget about it, they start to want to fight the National Assembly. Are you seeing what is happening now? The loser is the Kenyan.
All right. So what happens if this passes?
If this passes, it will just be a season of confusion. It will be a season of duplication. Kenyans will pay a much higher price for legislation and operations of laws in this country. But since this is a constitutional amendment bill and will have to be passed by 2/3 of members of the National Assembly, I can declare it here without a fear of contradiction.
Yeah.
It is dead on arrival. So Kenyans should not worry. Let the senators keep themselves busy. You remember when we enacted the Constitution, how was Senate referred to us? Nyumba ya wazee. You remember? Actually, if you look at the initial senators, there were many people before they realized that the governor's seat was more juicy. A number of people had gone for Senate, then they quickly moved to to be governors. So it's a house for just like that. Let them keep themselves busy. But actually, I would, on a serious note, would like to call upon Senate. Please, you understand your role as per the Constitution. Execute that mandate. Our counties, Olive, are in a total mess. Some have salary arrears of 3 months, I think like Nairobi, where workers are even threatening to go on strike. Others are not remitting SHA. Many counties, by the way, in this country are not remitting SHA, they are not remitting SACCO deductions, they are not remitting even taxes. Okay? Now, I wish Senate was moving from county to county. I wish they even divided themselves in groups of 20 and just say, we are going to spend a week in this county, in Nairobi County, and just check what is happening there. We move to the next county like that. You know, this country will be moving forward. But it's just this thing of this Kenyan thing of I want to be more relevant, I want to be more powerful, I just, and it's just something with no end. So I would like to call upon Senate, please, keep to your lane.
But one thing,
let them send it for election by the Kenyans so that we can have a referendum on that particular bill.
All right. Do you have something to add to that?
But something that I'm happy is that they have indicated, the Senate has indicated that it will subject these particular bills to public participation in all the 47 counties. So Kenyans will also give their views, and I believe in terms of effective public participation, it will inform the next move of the Senate. But more importantly, there are other aspects that I think will be positive in terms of that bill. Mm-hmm. The fact that they want to entrench now the county assembly fund is a positive thing, mm-hmm. because it actually wants to now take money to the people in the manner that is supposed to. But ideally, I could understand why the two Joffreys will not be happy, because that then is going to be used to defeat the aspect of the constituency development fund. Because
but we already have the law. Yeah, let me just correct him. Yeah. We already have the law that we legislated the other day, and the president assented to it. The autonomy of the county assemblies.
Very true.
And even the ward fund, yes, is one of the items that is there. So we don't need to have another law that we say that again we put in the constitution. We will be over-legislating.
The issue about it is because there's been challenges in terms of these particular funds. And that is why they believe as a Senate, and rightly so, that on such aspects, it ought to be entrenched in the Constitution to avoid the issues that affected the CDF. But more importantly, they also want to ensure that they can have their sittings around in counties, and so that they have effective management of counties and a feel of those counties. If you remember what Raila Odinga said the other day, he believes oversight should now be moved to the county assemblies, because they know better the issues within a county as opposed to Senate that just sits in Nairobi. And I think maybe that is something that they want to do so that they can sit tomorrow in Homa Bay, my county, they can deal with issues there, they can understand the feel. There is some positive aspects, but I think the problem is when you bring a mongrel of an amendment bill that has all these other issues, then it causes that confusion. Lastly, on the issue of CDF, like my colleagues have said, yes, the court has spoken, and CDF, as we speak, of course, the court's position is that it is unconstitutional. But the reality is that CDF has helped and touched each and every corner of this particular country, I think more effectively than any other fund that has ever been put in place. So that is a fact. And I think the best way is to find a way on how to ensure that even the views of the court in terms of how to make it constitutional will be the best way forward for such a noble fund, because the benefits are there. No one casts aspersions on it, but to the extent of the legality, unfortunately, we again must go to the law and are guided by the law.
All right. So in terms of, you talked about the county oversight fund. The explanation provided here is that the proposed reforms promise greater independence. A central feature of the bill is establishment of the county assembly fund in every devolved unit. The fund will cater for running of county assemblies, including paying staff, managing offices, and carrying out oversight duties. Currently, county assemblies rely heavily on county executives for their financing, a dependency that has often exposed them to interference or outright manipulation by governors. The new arrangement will ensure funds are channeled directly to the assemblies, making them more autonomous and effective in their watchdog role. So I don't really see where it would compete with with NG CDF.
It will compete in this manner. The reason they have indicated that, in terms, and that's the ruling of the Supreme Court, in terms of the financial aspects in a country, that we have the national government, we have the county government. That is the only resource route that resources are to follow. And when it comes to that, they say that NGCDF then creates a third resource route, which is not envisaged in law. So within the county, the counties, county assemblies are constituents of counties. So once you create those funds are legal. In fact, they're constitutional as we speak. But what they will do is then it will mean that having another fund for the MPs then will be superfluous. And again, it will be more reason to now indicate that there is no need then of having the same fund, because these people are actually at the grassroots level over comparative to a member of parliament, because the counties are the lowest levels in terms of representation, the county assemblies. So to that extent, once this is entrenched, I really see a very big difficulty in trying to persuade any other entity or court or Kenyans that you still would need NGCDF in the form that it is, and especially without again amending the constitution.
Olive, let me put the record straight.
Okay.
Perhaps there is misunderstanding here. We must understand the functions that are being carried out by the county assemblies and the National Assembly in terms of these particular funds. Let's not just look at the fund that we have, the county assembly fund and the NGCDF fund. The NGCDF fund roles is education, which is a national government function. These functions cannot be performed by the counties.
But they are doing it now.
Yeah.
Their bursaries,
bursary is
left,
not a
right,
function.
center.
Those are superfluous things that they do. But have you seen a county government constructing a classroom for a school?
Yes, the lower level is actually left for
ECD.
the counties.
Yes.
ECD is
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The ECD is just a small unit. But all the way from grade 1 to secondary, it is a national government function. Administration and security. Where you have police stations, we have chiefs and sub-chiefs and ACC's offices. They are being constructed by the national government. So whatever the NGCDF is doing is to come and fill the gap by or perform duties of national government at the constituency level. It's not that this fund is rivaling the fund or the funds being sent to the county governments. So when you say that you remove CDF, then you are telling us that the national government now should come and replace, so that they have structures down there to come and carry out this function. And as Mheshimiwa Ndeto said, our roles, we are only patrons. The fund is being managed by a fund manager employed by the national NGCDF office in Nairobi here.
All right.
Olive on that
one.
One thing that Waheshimiwas must agree is that we are governed by the rule of law. This matter was subjected all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has spoken. They had advocates there to say all this English there, and they did not persuade the Supreme Court. So once it
But we have aligned. That's why we have amended the law.
Once we can cry, we can do what, but we must be guided by that.
Let me add some little English for Kenyans then this morning. Now that Wakili says we spoke all the English in court and, we still lost. But let me add some final words of English to Kenyans this morning. Olive, NGCDF has been the subject of all manner of allegations and accusations to basically bring it to an end. And that's all good, what Wakili is saying, that it has gone all the way to the Supreme Court and the interpretation has been the same. But I just want to speak as a legislator for Tetu and to my people in Tetu. The day, Olive, that we do away with NGCDF, whether it's being governed by the MP or whatever it is, the day we do away with that fund, I can tell Kenyans today, looking at them straight in the eye, it is the Kenyans who are going to suffer, and they'll suffer greatly. If I go to my own constituency, you need to walk anything between 5 and 10 kilometers to see a project of the county government. You only need to turn your head left or right to see a project of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund. As we speak, I am rehabilitating schools in my constituency. I do from grade 1 to grade 9, and then I built a laboratory. The two classes there that belong to the governor are left looking like, and I can take it to very many of my schools. And I tell you, this is the section done by NGCDF. These are the ECD classrooms. Actually, we are dehumanizing. And for me, actually, from where I sit, one of the things maybe we should even quickly be removing from counties is ECD education. Because they have been unable to manage
them.
Completely. education should be education. From early childhood all the way to the university, it should be under national government. So we are actually dehumanizing these small kids. Okay? I have a program where we give a lunch, subsidized lunch, to children in my constituency. Okay? It's not an NGCDF program. It's actually something we are running with an NGO and parent subsidized. And, you know, we are even forced also to bring on board the ECD children because it's unfair for the bigger children to eat and the governor's children are not eating. Anyway, long and short, Kenyans, please defend CDF, even if it means with your blood. If you are waiting for counties to give you bursaries, if you are waiting for counties, if you are waiting for governors to give you bursaries, if you are waiting for governors to build classrooms, if you are waiting for governors to build police posts and chiefs camps and to do all the other things that we do, even to rehabilitate roads, the ones that we do under the constituencies, roads Kiti and Akera, I can tell you. This country will be in a mess.
All right, but please don't.
Olive, let me just say something.
I'm not trying to say they should do it with their blood. I mean, I'm just trying to say that this is something the Kenyans must be willing to defend. Yes. And actually, let me just clarify. When we did the public participation for NGCDF, the Constitutional Amendment Act, Kenyans came out in large numbers. They all gave glowing praise. So I don't mean necessarily the physical blood, but I'm trying to say with all their effort, there's something they must defend. It is something they must go out there and say, we want this kitty entrenched, you know, in the Constitution, and we want it to stay. However the laws will look like, however the English will look like, it is important that this kitty stays.
I mean, I just ask a question. If we remove CDF, who will build classrooms in our schools? But now that this is education. No, education under the Constitution.
The government is there to build schools. That is a misnomer when you say that it is only CDF that can build classrooms. NGCDF was not there during Moi time, and classrooms were built actually in a very
through Harambes.
And now it is still money. But at the end of the day, the reason why, Olive, parliamentarians will defend this thing with everything that they have is because parliamentarians have a supervisory role over this particular fund. And to that extent, many of them, and you've heard the quotes the other time indicating that this issue of parliamentarians putting their posters and pictures on such funds to advertise themselves should be a thing of the past because they're using it as a campaign tool that I've delivered. Yet this is money that is supposed to be separate from politics. And that's why when another MP comes, you always find that they always do not want to continue with other projects that other MPs started through NGCDF, and they want to start their own. So it becomes a political thing that ideally is not right. But one thing I agree with Waheshimiwa Zia is that CDF has been very instrumental in transformation of lives. Very, very key and very, very instrumental. And I've seen it all the way in my home constituency in Karachuonyo. They've done wonders that people never thought because central government that time did not know exactly what to do. But the moment you put these funds within the control of this particular constituency, it has helped. The only problem, and I'm saying, is that we came up with a constitution that unfortunately is tying our hands in terms of how do we deal with NGCDF. And that's why I say the best way with the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, let them find a way in terms of amending the Constitution, the way the Senate is trying to do, to now ensure that this debate is put to rest. And if Kenyans feel like Wandeto is indicating that this is very useful, that they can defend it with everything they have, it will be so easy to just infuse it. Because I know a referendum is around the corner. When you hear all these things happening, there's a referendum coming. And those are things that should be put there and we deal with it once and for all.
Yeah. All right. Lastly, for the National Assembly, the question of privatization, Mheshimiwa Wandeto, you had said the Speaker employed delay tactics. What informed that statement?
Well, because that day you remember the last day of Parliament was, for lack of a better word, was a day of a little bit of anger. It was the day after the president had made some very scathing attack on parliamentarians, in terms of being a house of bribery and things like that. And the two items that were on the floor of the House that day was a statement on EGP, which I think parliamentarians voted to vacate, the guidelines that had been issued by the CS for Treasury. And the second motion that day was on the privatization of Kenya Pipeline.
Yes.
And there was a lot of very emotive debate, and people kept, the legislators kept pushing the speaker to put the question. And more and more debate. I mean, it was easy to see that actually the whole thing was delayed. And, you know, when the speaker was just about to put the question, it was exactly, I think, 8 o'clock, and the House had to rise. I don't know.
7
o'clock. Yeah, I think that day the House was going up to 7. And the House had to rise. So we are really hoping that we start there today.
Okay, so just looking at the schedule on the suitability of the privatization of the Kenya Pipeline Company, we see that under valuation and valuation costs and risk, the Privatization Commission ensures that all liabilities, debt and credit, and risks affecting the valuation of KPC are comprehensively assessed, transparently disclosed, and factored into the transaction valuation before proceeding with the IPO, including pending lawsuits amounting to 5.75 billion and resolved compensation claims worth 3.8 billion by residents of Makueni County due to historical grievances linked to the pipeline operations, loss of approximately 400 million shillings in the Mzima pipeline project due to stalled execution, and procurement lapses in the Mzima pipeline project due to, I've talked about that. A Ganishi order of 485 million in favor of Zakim International following contractual disputes over the Line V5 project, and the potential loss of public funds amounting to 192.6 million shillings after Asharami Synergy took over the LPG facility despite prior investment by KPC. Why do you think this will be such a contentious, a hot button topic?
Yeah, because there are all those issues that you have mentioned that need to be sorted out, especially the issues of compensation. And you know, every time an organization transitions, and the best example is NHIF and SHA, you can see how debts get lost in between. And I think everyone would like to have a few of these things, historical issues sorted out first before we can proceed with the privatization. But I think for me, the other important point is the environment under which the privatization is taking place. If we want to issue an IPO right now, and you look at the status, the state of the Kenyan economy, and especially the people's purchasing power, we'll basically have handed this asset to foreign investors. Only very few Kenyans right now can be able to spare money to participate in an IPO. Very, very few Kenyans. It will either just be bought by the private, the large institutional investors and international organizations. Most of the other IPOs we did, like the Safaricom one, the Kengen one, we did them when the Kenyan economy was very healthy, and that's why a lot of Kenyans for the first time owned some shares, me included, at the stock exchange. It was through those IPOs that we even discovered the stock exchange. So right now, when the economy is at an all-time low, I would suggest that this is not a priority. Again, we have other options of things that we can sell. You know, Olive, if you as a farmer, you don't sell your best performing dairy cow. You sell the dry cows, and we have many dry cows. KQ is a dry cow. Pyrethrum Board of Kenya is a dry cow. We have many. I can list. I think there was a list of.
And who is willing to buy a dry cow? That's the question.
Because maybe you have a. Because and if people are not willing to buy your dry, then why are you selling your cash cow? Then what are you going to do? These are the organizations that are contributing some money, in helping the exchequer through dividends. So all these are the ones that have been gobbling away government money year after year, and there are many of them. I think there were initially, I don't know, there were 96. Yeah, there was a list of dry cows that were due for selling. I think we should focus on those ones first.
All right. So according to this schedule, in respect to government shareholding, the government retains not less than 35% of shares of Kenya Pipeline Company and may privatize not more than 65% of the government ownership in the company. All right. So,
but one more thing, Olive. Just I've remembered based on what you've said. Again, if you look at the fuel is a strategic asset to what extent do you want to give your energy value chain to foreign hands, and especially the transportation of fuel, you know? So if that operator just thinks, you know, today I'm not going to pump, I'm going to shut it down, he'll bring the economy to. So some things, governments all over the world, including America, certain assets, government, for national security reasons and strategic reasons, they really want to have control. So again, even if government was to privatize, I would probably say 30% private, 70% kept by government. So that you don't have private hands having what we call a controlling majority. Sorry, I just need to add that.
No problem. So I want to quickly look at maybe some 5 tweets or so because of time, and then invite you to make your last remarks this morning. All right, this is Nixon, or is it Nixo Ndugire? Never underestimate the hypocrisy of politicians, especially those gifted with sweet tongues. What? The kind who would cut down an indigenous tree, then stand on the stump to deliver a speech on conservation. I'm curious what this is specifically in regard to. Is it Raila Odinga's statements? Raila saving Kenya. Story is getting old. He has led protests, worked with those in power, and even used public anger like the Gen Z protests to appear as a savior. Now he's hinting at 2027 while backing Ruto, and honestly, that feels like a big joke. If he chooses to work with Ruto, he should just be clear about it instead of taking Kenyans for a ride. That is Lekishon Laban. Let's see, this is Engineer Lazaro who says ODM is a formidable movement in Kenya, but they should stop confusing members with divergent opinions. Let them consult their professionals and agree on one common stand. We are not happy with this kind of intentional confusion. All right, Frank Orinde says those opposed to Raila should quit the endless jabs and instead chart their own path. Kenyans deserve alternative, progressive leadership, not constant lamenting. If all you can do is cry foul, then you're no different from the emptiness you claim to fight. This is who? Okello Mwalimu says, dear MPs, with the resumption of parliamentary sittings, we urge you to prioritize pro-poor agenda. We are looking forward to sober debates around ideas, not gimmicks. We expect you to attend sessions with the same vigor you've attended public gatherings during recess. I just have 2 more here. We have Bob Owino who says, first on Raila Odinga knows very well that his votes can't fill the basket for president. Raila Odinga knows very well that his votes can't fill the basket for President William Ruto for his successful re-election bid for a second term in 2027, which led to his remarks. And then he says, Senate have realized their house ni nyumba ya wazee. Just like former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko once said, that's why they're pushing for constitutional amendments to make them relevant to voters. And without NGCDF, MPs will become irrelevant to voters because they use it as a tool of trade, of siphoning monies for their campaign.
Oh, no.
Serious accusation there. But your last words, I'll begin with you, Mheshimiwa Fandapale.
Yes. What I'll say is that looking at the position we're in as Kenyans, there are so many things that are really challenging our livelihood. For example, we have talked about SHA. We just brushing over and leaving it there. We look at the NGCDO fight. We just brush over and then we say we leave at that. So what I'll tell Kenya that let's just be patriotic first of all. If you look at the SHA things and come up with the recommendation that can help strengthen this particular fund, because SHA is not going away. And if SHA goes away, there's no replacement for it. Even if we have proposals that maybe we go the tax way, we're still not going to have solve problem because there are issues of graft that we need also to handle and a myriad of issues that bring a lot of confusion. So what I'm just saying is that we as Kenyans, let's be a country whereby we bring issues instead of lamenting and attacking each other. We bring issues that can be deliberated upon by even us legislators so that we can have a better tomorrow.
All right, Wakili, your last word?
Yes, I think in terms of the constitution that we have, Parliament was placed at a very strategic point, and they have very strategic responsibilities in terms of all these issues that Mheshimiwa is indicating. And that is actually dealt with during this particular season, and they have a golden opportunity to bring this debate healthily and in terms of quality debate, and pass resolutions that will actually help to bring solutions ultimately. And that is why it is good we are talking here in this show. Myself and yourself will not have anything to do now in terms of how do we advance, but they have a golden opportunity to take this and ensure that even if it's the House Business Committee, they then prioritize it. They have ways of bringing bills which will actually help. And unfortunately, this is a parliament that is also bedeviled with a lot of accusations, starting from the ones the president made. Kenyans will be looking at them from those particular spectacles or lenses. From this other end, they also have their own in-house issues in terms of the divisions in politics, because once they are there, you find the DCP people, these other people say we are opposition. They are not supposed to be an opposition and a ruling section within parliament. They are supposed to be just dealing with the agenda that benefits Kenyans. So they have a golden opportunity, and we will hold parliamentarians to account come 2027 in terms of what you did. Those who do not step in parliament, like the reports always come, and we see these reports and they come day in, day out, and we just brush them. But Kenyans in 2027 will put it to scale and see what you have done with the opportunity you are given.
All right. Your last word, Mheshimiwa Wandeto?
All eyes this week will be on the Cabinet Secretary for Health, and especially how he deals with this unfolding SHA crisis. Like I said, health is a matter of life and death. It's not something that can wait for us to bicker, for us to debate. We don't know how many children we are going to lose. We don't know how many mothers and whatever. So I would urge that we move a little bit faster. And I hope that also Parliament can seize this opportunity to also jump into this SHA issue and call for accountability. So I'm really, really hoping that we can see something on the floor of the House. I personally am hoping to do something, but let's just see whether it's something that we can discuss, because Kenyans are really looking upon us.
Yeah, actually, Sam Masika is saying if you could find out how much SHA is collecting every month, how exactly is that money being used, and what additional funding has government provided. And also somebody is joking here that perhaps as you debate KPC, you should incorporate a clause that fuel should be directly also sent to police. All right, that concludes
By KPC.
Daybreak. I've been your host, Olive Barrows. I want to thank my panelists this morning. We've had Geoffrey Wandeto, MP Tetu. We've had the Member of Parliament for Nambale, Geoffrey Mulanya, and the gentleman caught in between the Geoffreys, Duncan Okatch, Wakili Advocate. Do keep it Citizen TV.